All right, strap in, everybody, because today we are diving into a story that honestly feels like it's ripped straight from tomorrow's headlines.
Yeah.
El Salvador.
Big one.
Bitcoin.
Huge.
And the IMF.
Oh, yeah.
A high-stakes game with, frankly, the future of how we think about money hanging in the balance.
Absolutely.
Now, you all wanted us to break this down, and lucky for you, we've got a mountain of articles and reports.
I love it.
On this economic showdown that's brewing right now in Central America.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating about this whole thing is we're not just, talking about numbers on a spreadsheet here.
Right.
We're talking about a country, an actual country that decided, you know what?
Yeah.
We're going to buck the system. We're going to roll the dice and go all in on Bitcoin, baby. Made it legal tender right alongside the U.S. dollar.
Alongside the U.S. dollar.
Back in 2021.
2021, which, thinking about it, wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't.
Talk about a power move, right? They basically planted their flag on the moon and said,
absolutely,
we are the crypto world's trailblazers.
100%.
But, and there's always a but, right?
Yeah.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is signaling maybe, just maybe, El Salvador might want to tap the brakes.
Interesting.
On this whole Bitcoin experiment.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting, right? Because the IMF, this isn't just some, advisory board giving friendly suggestions.
Right, like, hey, maybe try this.
They carry weight.
They hold weight. Serious weight.
Serious weight.
They're like the referees of the global financial system.
Yeah.
Countries all over the world, they rely on the IMF.
Yeah.
For loans, for stability, for basically keeping the entire economic ship
100%
from going completely off course.
Yeah, so when they start waving their hands, people listen.
So, all right, let's break down exactly what this signaling actually means.
Okay.
What is the IMF saying to El Salvador? And what's the big deal about these recommendations?
Okay, so in a nutshell, the IMF is basically suggesting that El Salvador hit the pause button for a second.
Okay.
Take a breath. And seriously rethink how far they're going with this whole Bitcoin thing.
Okay.
Right? Like, when a country makes something legal tender.
Yeah.
It means basically you can use it to pay for just about anything.
Your groceries, your rent, right.
Your rent, exactly.
Just like regular cash.
Just like dollars and cents, yeah. And the IMF.
Yeah.
They're really worried about the risks involved here.
Okay.
Especially for a country like El Salvador. Which, let's be honest, is still developing. Its economy is still growing.
It's a little more vulnerable, you might say.
A little more vulnerable, yeah, to the shocks and surprises.
So they're not saying, get rid of Bitcoin, dump it in the ocean.
No, not at all.
But more like, maybe pump the brakes a little bit.
Add some safety measures.
Add some, hey, let's be careful.
Exactly.
What kind of risks are we talking about here? What's got the IMF, sweating under their collars?
Well, for starters, volatility.
Okay.
Bitcoin, as we all know, it's a bit of a roller coaster.
It's up, it's down, it's...
Yeah, and for everyday people.
Yeah.
What that means is their money, the value of their money, could just poof, disappear.
Yeah, like a magician.
Right.
Yeah.
So imagine this.
Okay.
You go to the store, you're doing your weekly grocery shopping, and suddenly your groceries cost double.
Just like that.
Because Bitcoin had a bad day.
Oh, man.
That's the kind of instability that the IMF is worried about.
And you can't really blame them, right?
Exactly.
That's a real concern.
It is.
But El Salvador
seems
pretty determined.
They do, don't they?
To ride this wave.
They're like, we're strapped in.
Yeah. They're holding on tight.
Yeah.
So what happens if they just say, thank you, IMF, love the advice, but no.
Right.
We're sticking with Bitcoin. This is our jam.
Yeah. Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Ignoring the IMF's advice. Yeah. Especially when you're a country that, let's be real, relies on international loans and investments.
Yeah, they need that money.
They need that money.
They keep their economy afloat.
It's like telling the bank, you know what? I don't really want to follow your rules.
Right.
But can I still get that mortgage?
Yeah, I'm going to do it my way, but can you still spot me?
It's risky business.
It's a little risky.
Yeah.
So it sounds like El Salvador, they're walking a tightrope here, right?
They are.
They want to be this Bitcoin haven.
Yeah, the paradise, right.
But they also they need the IMF.
They need them in their corner.
On their side.
Yeah.
So what are the potential consequences if they can't find that balance?
That's where things get even more interesting. Because imagine this.
All right, I'm imagining.
Investors get spooked. They start pulling their money down.
Oh.
And suddenly you have a potential economic crisis.
In El Salvador.
In El Salvador.
Oh, boy.
And that kind of instability has a really bad habit of spreading. Like a virus.
Right. It's not contained. It can jump from country to country.
Exactly.
So this isn't just about El Salvador then, is it? This is about
it's bigger.
The IMF's role in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
Trying to prevent
a domino effect.
Yeah. A domino effect.
Right.
That could impact the entire global economy.
Exactly.
So the IMF...
We're walking on a tightrope, too.
They're walking on a tightrope as well. You're right.
Because on the one hand, they have to be really careful.
Not to stifle innovation.
Right. Not to come across as, like, the big bad guys.
Yeah, like, get back in your box. Don't try anything new.
Yeah. Don't you dare try anything new.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have a responsibility.
They do.
To, like, sound the alarm when they see something.
When they see a fire.
That could potentially set the whole system on fire.
Yeah.
And right now... they're looking at El Salvador's Bitcoin gamble with a very, very... wary eye.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Don't make me come over there.
Don't make me come over there.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're talking about a real standoff here.
Yeah, a bit of a showdown.
El Salvador all chips in on Bitcoin.
Yep.
And the IMF waving this giant yellow flag.
Caution.
So any chance they find some middle ground here?
Well, the IMF... they've laid out some, specific recommendations for El Salvador. And it really boils down to this.
Yeah. Hit it.
Bump the brakes a little bit.
Okay.
Tighten the reins. Get a little control over this thing. And maybe, just maybe, consider, pulling back a little bit.
On this whole, like, Bitcoin is as good as cash thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so in the real world, what does that actually look like?
Right.
We got pump the brakes. We've got tighten the reins. What are the specifics here?
So one of the biggest things, stronger regulation, oversight,
Right, because right now it's kind of like...
it's the Wild West out there.
It's a little Wild Westy.
Yeah, the crypto world, very few rules.
Yeah, it's like the early internet.
Exactly.
Everybody knows what's going on.
A lot of unknowns. And the IMF, they're not cool with that.
So they want El Salvador to basically create some rules of the road.
Yeah, establish some guidelines, make it harder for,
the bad guys
to exploit this system.
Yeah, no shady stuff.
Protect consumers, make sure everything's on the up and up.
Okay, so that's the tighten the reins part.
Exactly.
What about pulling back? What does that actually mean?
Right, well, remember we were talking about El Salvador, like going all in on Bitcoin?
Oh, yeah, they bought a bunch of it, didn't they?
Like they were betting on a prize pony.
Yeah, like, this is our horse, we're going all the way.
And the IMF is basically saying, you know what? Maybe diversify a little bit.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Especially if that basket is, a little wobbly.
Bitcoin can be a little shaky.
A little shaky.
So they're suggesting maybe scale back a bit on how widely Bitcoin can be used?
Exactly. Yeah, maybe not for everything.
So not ditching it entirely, but maybe not making it like the only game in town.
Right, because let's be real.
Yeah.
El Salvador's poured a lot of resources into this.
They've built this whole system.
They have. They've gone all in.
So to pull back now, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, right?
It would be a big change, for sure.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the IMF's not being completely tone deaf here.
Okay.
They've actually praised El Salvador.
They have?
Yeah, for taking steps in the right direction with their proposed budget for 2025.
Wait a minute. So it's not all like doom and gloom?
No, not at all.
The IMF's giving them props for some stuff.
They are. They recognize that El Salvador is, trying to innovate, trying to, make things better for their economy.
Move the needle.
Exactly.
But
also, they
got their eye on the prize.
Don't burn the house down.
Yeah. We appreciate the ambition, but let's not get crazy here.
So trying to find that sweet spot, encouraging progress, but also, ready to play financial firefighter if things get out of control.
Exactly. Walking that fine line.
That's a tough job.
It is. But what about El Salvador? How are they responding to all this advice?
Right, because they struck me as, a country that's not afraid of a little risk.
It's almost like they're trying to thread a needle, right?
Yeah, it's a tough position.
Because on the one hand,
it is.
You've got all this potential upside.
Oh, yeah.
They could become
the crypto capital.
The crypto capital of the world,
Yeah.
attracting investors,
Yeah, yeah.
tech companies, tourists even.
Oh, totally.
People looking to spend their Bitcoin.
Bitcoin haven.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And, let's not forget about, like, the potential for Bitcoin to really empower people.
Especially in a country where not everyone has a bank account.
Yeah, a lot of people are unbanked.
So this could be like
Totally.
an alternative.
An alternative to a system
Yeah, a way to get around a system
that hasn't really worked out for them.
that maybe hasn't served them that well.
Yeah.
But then on the other side,
There's the risk.
there's the risk.
Yeah.
You tick off the IMF,
Yeah.
and suddenly you've got a real mess on your hands.
Potentially, yeah. An economic meltdown.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
So how is El Salvador responding to all of this?
Right.
Are they listening to the IMF? Or are they like, you know what? We're doubling down.
See, that's what's so interesting.
Okay.
They've been pretty defiant.
Really?
Yeah. Pushing back
Against the IMF.
against the IMF,
Whoa.
saying essentially, look, we hear your concerns, but you're overblowing it.
We got this.
We got this. We're taking steps. It's all under control.
So it's a standoff then.
It's a bit of a standoff. Yeah.
Like a game of chicken.
Kind of. Yeah. Who's going to blink first?
So what happens next? Does someone swerve or do we watch this all just explode?
I mean, that's the billion-dollar question, right?
I know. I wish I had a crystal ball.
Because the stakes, they couldn't be higher
No, not really.
for both sides.
Yeah, for everyone involved.
If El Salvador actually pulls this off,
If they make it work.
if they create this, like, stable, thriving economy,
With Bitcoin right at the center of it.
Bitcoin at the core, game changer.
That changes everything.
It does.
I mean, that's like a real...
Slap in the face to the old system.
It's a revolution, almost.
It is. And you know what?
Yeah.
Other countries, they're watching.
Oh, okay.
They're seeing this and thinking, maybe we should try that.
Yeah. Maybe we should get on this train.
And suddenly, you could have this domino effect.
But not the bad kind.
Not the bad kind, the good kind.
The kind that, like, reshapes the whole world.
Exactly, the whole financial landscape.
But on the other hand, if it blows up...
Yeah, if it all goes south...
That's a scary thought.
It is a cautionary tale.
For everyone watching, right?
For the whole world, yeah.
Like, don't mess with Bitcoin. Or at least, don't mess with Bitcoin like that.
Right, don't bet the farm.
Exactly, so everyone's kind of holding their breath right now.
It's true, it's like watching a thriller.
It really is, and I have no idea how it's going to end.
Me neither. But that's what makes it so compelling.
It's true. We're watching history unfold right in front of us.
We are. It's a real-time experiment.
And the future of money is at stake.
No pressure, right?
No pressure at all. Well, you've given us a lot to think about today.
A lot to unpack.
That's for sure. And one thing's clear, El Salvador. They've set the stage here.
They have.
Whatever happens, the ripple effects are going to be felt everywhere.
Absolutely. This is bigger than just one country.
It's bigger than Bitcoin, even.
Right. Makes you wonder.
It does make you wonder.
What if
this is just a taste of what's to come?
What if this is just the beginning?
A sign of even bigger changes on the horizon.
A new financial order.
Exactly. A whole new world of money.
The plot thickens.
It does. It really does. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Great discussion.
As always, but be sure to stay tuned.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is far from over.
Not even close.
We'll be back soon to keep you updated on all the twists and turns.
Yeah. It's going to be a wild ride.
So buckle up, and thanks for listening.